In this week's Parsha, we have two positive commandments. Mipnei seva takum, you shall rise in the presence of seva. Seva means someone who has grey hair, someone who is aged. Vahadarta pnei zaken, and you should show honor in the presence of a zaken. Zaken here doesn't just mean an elderly person, but a learned person. V'yareita melohecha, and you shall have fear of Hashem. Ani Hashem, I am God. So we have a mitzvah in general to show respect to elderly people because we acknowledge their life experience and everything they have gone through. And therefore, when they come into our presence, we should rise, even if they are ignorant, even if they are not learned people. If we're sitting on a bus and they come in and there's no seat, we should rise and give them our seat. Ba'adat b'nei zakein means we should have respect, not just for elders, but for learned people, even if they may be younger. Why is this so? If we think about it, then the whole of Jewish life is predicated on the Masorah, the tradition that we receive from the previous generation. Pirkei Avot begins, Ethics of the Fathers, which we learn this time of the year between Pesach and Shavuot, by telling us that Moshe received the Torah at Sinai, and he handed it to Joshua, and Joshua handed it to the elders, and the elders to the prophets, and the prophets to the men of the great assembly, and so on and so forth, until this very day, as the Rambam lists in the introduction to his book, Mishneh Torah. We would not have the Torah, our understanding of the Torah, if it was not for the previous generation. And therefore we have to have incredible respect for our teachers. This is something that, unfortunately, in the secular world has been lost somewhat. The respect that children, that scholars used to have for teachers is all but gone. But in the world of the yeshiva, in the world of Torah study, the Torah students have incredible respect for their rebbe, for their teacher. In many instances, they are in awe of that person. I remember when I was married and my Rosh Hashiva, blessed memory, Rabbi Goldfein, attended the wedding. Later on, there was a guest, a secular man, a Jewish man, but a secular man who attended the wedding. And he said to one of his colleagues, it was amazing. When their leader came in, they all stood up. This is something that we took for granted. When the Rosh Hashiva came into the yeshiva, we would rise. We would rise because he was an incredibly learned person. Of course, it wasn't just about learning. He put what he learned into action. But we realized that we were the beneficiaries of the Torah learning that he had received from his Torah teachers, who actually came from Lithuania and were able to survive the Holocaust. And they learned from their teachers and their teachers all the way back. So if we don't have respect and we don't have kavod and honor for those who came before us, the great Torah scholars, the entire structure of Judaism could collapse. Therefore, mipnei seva takum, rise before an elderly person, v'adarta pnei zakein, and show great respect and honor to a learned person. I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.